Hello and welcome to the MyHeritage webinar series. I'm Miriam Pierre-Louis and I'm your host today. I'm broadcasting to you live from Eastern Massachusetts. Our presenter today is Yoav Nave, and unfortunately our second presenter, Gul Ben David, she will not be able to be with us today, but that's all right. Yoav is going to take care of the entire presentation. And he's going to be speaking to us about how DNA testing can reveal your ethnic roots. So thanks to Yoav, who is presenting live from Israel, and thanks to all of you for being a part of our day. And a little bit about Yoav before we get started. I'm pleased to introduce him to you today. He defines and leads MyHeritage's DNA products and business initiatives. He manages the DNA science team, which is responsible for all DNA-related algorithms behind the suite of MyHeritage DNA products. Previously, he was a research assistant at Professor Aaron Mishor's team, Cell Lab, where he worked hands-on with synthetic biology, including PCR and cloning. I'm not even sure what PCR is. He's challenging me here because he's a scientist, and I don't usually have to say all this kind of stuff. So maybe he'll tell us a little bit more. He holds a Bachelor's of Science cum laude in chemistry from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Welcome, Yoav, to Legacy Family Tree webinars.
Hi there, Marianne. Thank you for the kind introduction.
So tell me what PCR is, because I'm kind of curious what that is.
PCR, that's a very complicated thing, but basically what it means, and I'm trying not to be too technical,
Yeah.
but basically what it means is taking DNA, which we have very little when we take a sample, and multiplying it in this very small machine that's amazing, that changed the biological world, multiplying it so we have a lot of signal, so we have DNA that we can work with. So basically, if you have a AGCT, the PCR reaction will make million AGCTs, and then we have enough signal so we can do downstream process. This is something that's in every lab, and it's very well known in the biology world.
Well, I'm happy to know that we have somebody like you on our side who can take that and then translate it into something that we can use for genealogy.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to change my screen over to you, and you should see a little share my screen pop up. There we go. That looks great, and you can take it away from here on out.
Thank you. So again, Marian, thanks for the kind introduction, and thank every one of you for attending this webinar. Like Marian said, we're going to talk about how DNA testing can reveal your ethnic roots, and basically a lot about ethnicity estimates in the genetic genealogy aspect of them. Unfortunately, Gal, my colleague and the product manager that's in charge mostly of the user experience and how the feature looks, can't make it. She's very sorry, some personal issues, but that's life, and I'm going to do my best to go ahead and continue without her. And I really hope you're all going to enjoy, and I'm going to leave a lot of time for questions, because I think one of the most important things in these webinars is, so I can go on and on about slides and how it works, and it's very interesting, but many of you already have questions that are very important for you, and I really would like to answer. Probably not going to be able to answer all of them, but I really wish to answer as many as I can, the best that I can, so we're going to leave some time in the end. So what are we going to be talking about today? Just a second, let's see. Okay, it works. Perfect. So basically, very easy, a very simple agenda. We're going to talk about what is a genetic ethnicity estimate, how it works, what it means, how we create it, how we model it, and everything in that area. Then we're going to skip to what can genealogists learn from the ethnicity estimate. So it's not just a standalone feature, but it's something that you can use in genealogy. And then just one last slide about what's next in MyHeritage. And again, after that, questions and answers that I'll answer together with Marian. So what is a genetic ethnicity estimate? I'm going to read two quotations, and then I'm going to explain them. But basically, The definition is the architecture of genome variation between populations. Or if I can make it simpler, to study how different populations vary between each other. That's what it is. Basically, it says different populations, demographically speaking, geographically or religiously, over the years, and we're gonna talk about how this happened, they have different variation between each other. And what we're trying to do here is model that variation and say, hey, these group look like this, these group look like this, specifically on the DNA side of the variation. And then we're going to try to provide inference about someone's genetic heritage and ethnicity. So the concept is very simple. The science, math, and the way that nature works makes it a bit more difficult for us, and I'll explain this shortly. Now, the reason it's very difficult is because basically all of us, everyone who's listening to this webinar, myself, and it doesn't matter who you are, but if you're a human being, we're 99% exactly the same. We have 3 billion base pairs, which are the AGCT, the DNA molecules in our body, and 99% of them are exactly the same between all of us. And it's easy to understand because we all have, we all breathe oxygen, we all digest certain materials, we all have hands, legs, skin, and all of that is encoded in our DNA. So of course, all of us have those molecules and we're pretty much the same. So when we look at ethnicity estimates, we look at the other 1% that has all of the variation. And how does that variation, I mean, if we're all human beings, we should be the same. So why is there variation at all? So variation usually happens on two, and this is high level, happens two different places. We have random mutations. Our human body is like a software and it has bugs. And in every second, all of the cells in our body are multiplying and cells are dying and new cells are being born. And sometimes suddenly something happened and A turned into a G. No explanation, random, it happened. And then this person now has a G and he passes the G to one of his children. One of his children passes the G to his grandchild. And that's how we suddenly get a variation. Another variation that can happen is environmentally induced. So for instance, communities who live next to, I don't know, swamps with certain gases that can do stuff or are in the sun a lot, radiation can create mutations. And that's how people get mutations. Now, over the years, these populations that lived together, they intermarried and they lived close to each other and they had children with each other. So they started to pass down these mutations, and each population has different mutations. So that's the beautiful thing about this 1% of variation that we try to look for, and that's how it happens. Now, I'm going to talk about, this is a high-level overview of how it actually works, and we're going to dive a bit deeper into each one of these. Okay, so the first thing, in order to build ethnicity estimate, and this is correct for all the companies, for everyone who does it, for the academia who uses, because the academia and health and pharma, they also do these things because population is very, very important. For instance, different diseases occur in different populations, so you have to know what ethnicity you are. So everyone uses this. The first thing when you build an algorithm is you have to collect data to train it on. So the first thing we do is collect founder population data. Now I'm going to speak about our founder population project in the next slide, but just high level, founder population means people that for many, many generations, as far as we can check, the farther the better, are from the same exact demographic location. So if you and your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents and even more are from, let's say, Ireland, then you are Irish founder population group, which is great. So the first thing we need is to search for these founder populations so we can use this data to model that population. Very simple. After we collect these founder populations, and again, I said, next slide, I'm going to speak about it a bit more, we have to build models for each of the ethnic groups. So like I said in my example earlier, if we had Irish, we have to model how an average Irish man, woman looks like, DNA-wise. So we take as many as we can. The more we have, the merrier, obviously. And we try to see how their variation looks like amongst themselves and against the other different populations. The next thing we do, which is the third circle here, is we need to build an algorithm where it takes a new DNA, a new user in MyHeritage, or a new user who uploaded a kit, or any new DNA kit that we have, and we need to compare with this algorithm your DNA to all of the reference groups that we have. And today we have 42 ethnicity groups, and we're going to show them later on in this presentation. And the last thing is more of the product that you can see is actually aggregating it and showing it in a very nice way and presenting it to you and to anyone who comes on MyHeritage. So that's kind of the high level thing. So like we said, the first thing is founder populations. Now, back, I think 2 years ago-ish, we started this founder populations project, maybe a bit more, where basically we said MyHeritage has a very big advantage over all of the industry and academia, is that we have a humongous international user base. So we have over 40 million trees, over 3 billion individuals in those trees, and they're from all over the world. The site and mobile app and desktop application, they're all translated to 42 languages. I think we're actually even going to add 43 soon. So almost every language, and we have users in literally every country in the world, over 93 million users. So we leverage this humongous international database, and we build algorithms that look for people who have, like I said before, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and even if we find more, that are from the same location. Now, the same location usually means country, but in many cases, variation is not only country or geographically based. Because, for instance, and this is the best example, is the Ashkenazi Jews, which are not associated with one country specifically, but they are they have very similar variation, and they're very easy to infer just because of the religion which made them always intermarry between each other. So, for instance, they're also a founder group, although they're not directly connected to a specific country. They're more, around Eastern Europe. And there's many more of these. But mostly we look for groups that are geographically, Irish, French, German, Colombian, many, many countries. And we send them kits, of course, if they consented and wanted to participate, obviously. And we send kits to over 200 different populations. And here I just want to add a small comment that we wanted to send kits to populations where we thought that it can be, we can achieve a good ethnicity estimate. And what do I mean by that? Some countries are completely immigrant countries. For instance, Australia, and I'm not talking about Aboriginal Australia for now. I'm talking about in apostrophes, the new Australia. It's not so good to send kids there because no one has Australian ethnicity except, again, the Aboriginals. So that's a country where we don't want to do founder population. On the other hand, countries that are, for instance, on an island, or countries that are have mountains around them, those are very good places because usually those people moved less, and therefore the variations they have, it's more easy to model. So eventually we sent thousands of kits, and we slowly built a beautiful founder populations reference, which helped us for now do the 42 populations, and in the future we're working very hard to add more. Now the second thing, as you saw in the slide before, that we have to do is model the specific populations. Here's just a slide that shows you the purple ethnicity, whatever it is a founder, and then on the other side of the family, this user has what's called an admixed ethnicity, meaning he comes from different ethnicities, and our algorithm tried to find only purple founders, and it's just to help understand what a founder or admixed individual is. But the next phase that we do is try to model the ethnicity. Now, don't worry if you don't understand this specific slide. It's very technical, but I'm going to make it very simple because I come from a science background, and I lead here the science team together with our chief science officer. So these things are very simple for me, and I'm going to try to make them simple for you. This is called PCA, Principal Component Analysis. Basically, what you're seeing here, every dot, you see I'm moving, every single dot is a DNA user who consented to participate in the Founder project. And these are only Europeans. And PCA, what it does, it just shows you variation between data sets. So it's raw data, no pipelines, no algorithms, nothing. It's just bare AGCTs. And what you can see here, and I know it looks like a mess, but soon you'll understand what I'm showing you. You can see these are all European users. These are Ashkenazi users. So you see them way far in the side. And that's why I said earlier, they're very easy to model because of the religion, they always intermarried. They never agreed to marry outside of the religion. And therefore their variation looks very, very similar, and it's clustered in the side. But Europe is a whole different story. And this is also why it's very hard to infer ethnicity estimates 100% correctly. And it's very hard, not only because algorithms of different companies are not good or better or worse, because biology made it that we're all pretty much the same. So in this side, in the upper left side of your screen, you can see Finnish people and West Russian people. And then on the other side, you can see Greeks and Italians, and here these are Sardinians. And smack in the middle, the different colors are French, German, British, Irish. So for the naked eye, you're saying to yourself, wow, so how can you even do anything with this? It looks like a big blob that everyone's the same. But no, you can still, with algorithms and machine learning and lots of data, you can start running circles around the specific populations that you want to model and successfully build a good models per population. But it is hard. And as you can see again, for instance, Europeans, specifically Northwest Europeans, are very much the same. If you're from France or Germany or English, for thousands of years, they went to each other, they fought against each other, they traded with each other, meaning the variation that they had in their genes moved all the time. And it's a bit different, for instance, in Ireland, where they were more time there alone, and therefore it's a bit easier to understand their genetic ethnicity. So I hope this is clear. I tried not to make it too technical. I hope it's not scary, but it basically shows you how tough it is, but we're optimistic and it works. So that's the thing to remember. The third thing we need to do, let's see, it's not moving, okay, is basically to build an algorithm that takes your DNA and compares it to all of the models we have, the 42 models. This is just an example, but it basically shows how an algorithm works for Irish. Just a second, I lost my mouse here. There we go. Basically, what it says, and again, this is technical. I just want you to understand, because here at MyHeritage, we want to be very transparent. We want to show you everything we have, and it's kind of the company motto. We do it in almost any feature, if it's DNA or not. We try to explain whatever we have, we want to share with our users. So basically, what you're seeing here is the average Irish person gets a lot of Irish. He gets a bit of British. If you can see my mouse, I hope you can. Some Scandinavian. And here you can see a bit of European Northwest, which are all very, very close to each other. And this is how our algorithm looks when you enter a new DNA. It shows you which populations you look like. Obviously, this is not the UI or the user interface you see in the site, but in the backend, in the computers, we see stuff like this. And then we play with confidence levels and we try to optimize, and we want to make sure that the peak of an Irish person who's 100% Irish gets 100% Irish ethnicity. It's not always easy, and it's not always true. Some people think they're 100% Irish, but 4 or 5 generations where they don't know what happened, they had English blood or Viking or Norwegian, Danish, Scandinavian blood. And many people don't know about these things because lots of people, most of the people are not heavy genealogists where they have pedigrees with more than 2, 3, 4 generations. And so they just don't know. They were told they were English, but if you sit down with them for a couple of hours and research their tree, they say, hey, you know what? I have a Scandinavian great grandmother. And then that explains why they have 7% Scandinavian. Now, the best thing to talk about, the best thing that I can show you is to actually show you the feature. So Gal unfortunately can't make it, but she offered her ethnicity estimate. So you can say she's partially with us here today. The best thing to do is I'm just going to jump, and I hope this works, jump straight to the site. Perfect. Okay, I think you're supposed to see it. And I jumped straight to Gal's ethnicity estimate under the DNA tab. So when a user buys a MyHeritage kit, swabs his cheeks, sends it back to the lab, we process the kit, a user will get an email, and then the email will send you to the ethnicity estimate page, or you can just go from the DNA tab to ethnicity estimate. And now I'm going to show you all the algorithms that we talked about and the modeling and everything we did. I'm going to show you what's the end product, because that's what you want eventually. You want to understand, you want to see the ethnicity itself. So any user in MyHeritage can have a couple of kits. So here Gal has someone else's kit as well that she manages, but we're specifically gonna only look at her kit. And the first thing you can see is your estimate. So your estimate, or in this case Gal's, is, as you can see here in the left side, is 91% from Europe, where the most it's 83.7% Ashkenazi, 5.9 South Europe, 1.5 North and West Europe, and 8.9 Sephardic Jewish North African. Now, the default view is that you can see only the ethnicities which we inferred. I'm going to show you now that you can also, if you wish, look at all supported ethnicities, meaning you can see the whole list of ethnicities. The hierarchy is very, very simple. So it's continent, subcontinent, and again, Ashkenazi Jews are a bit different, so they are as if they're a subcontinent, but you can see South Europe, North, East. You can see the different continents and subcontinents, and then the ethnicities themselves. You can easily, if you want to look at one continent, you can just click on this little arrow, and then you can just, boom, see all the different continents we have. If I click back on her ethnicity and open back these continents, these are the only ethnicities that she got. And that's what you see. Obviously, it sums up to 100% because that's how the algorithm works. Now, on the right side, you can see the map, which shows the different areas of the ethnicities that she got. You see, if I hover over one of them, it shows on the map to the right, it shows the specific area that we consider to be, for instance, Iberian, which is lots of Spain and some of France, and some of North Africa and some of Italy. And if I click on one of them, it focuses, and down here, if I drill down a bit, it again shows me my percentage, and it shows a very interesting little snippet of data, kind of wiki data about the Ashkenazi people. Or if I click on, I don't know, Iberian, it doesn't matter. It shows me a nice little, a little bit of history, the people, maybe some famous things that happen. It's very nice to see. Unfortunately, you can't hear it, but I can also play a tune that's very specific to this country. This is very nice. We got very good feedback from our users because we worked really hard to try to find music per ethnicity. It's a very nice thing, and we're proud of it. So this is what you can see here when we do all ethnicities. I actually missed something that I want to show you, because when I told you that you send your kit and then you receive an email with your results, what you will actually get is you will get this intro, which sums up all of your ethnicity. This is completely shareable. You can share it on Facebook, Twitter, to anyone you want. By the way, also here you can hear the music per each ethnicity, but you can't do it now. Maybe we can, when we do the playback of this webinar, we can add it somehow. Or if you have a MyHeritage kit, you probably have heard it before. And then in the end, it shows you kind of the snapshot of all of your ethnicity. So this is the entrance into the genetic or your DNA test results. So it's very, very nice. Here, as you can see, I can share it, or I can just go back to the ethnicity page. Now, something very, very nice here, and this is, I told you we're going to talk a bit, excuse me, we're going to talk a bit about how this is connected to genealogy, because up to now, everything I did is DNA based. So I took your DNA and I have a reference of models, and I saw to which model it suits the best. And then that's what I gave you. But now we're going to try to combine it with genealogy, because we think that the biggest power MyHeritage has is the combination of DNA and genealogy. Genealogy has its pros and cons. You can find a paper trail, but sometimes there is no paper trail. There's wars. There's people who have no paper trail. They don't know who their family is. And DNA has also pros and cons, where DNA for sure gives you blood relatives, but sometimes you don't know them. You have a third cousin, and it's very hard to tell who is this third cousin. So we very much believe in the integration of genealogy and DNA. So one of the best features we have, and also we got good feedback on that, sorry, is if we go here to show events from your family tree, you see the small little line over here. What it does is it shows all the events. In just a second, I'll click on all ethnicities. Perfect. What it does is it shows all the birth, marriage, and death events that are in your tree, or in this case in Gal's tree, that have a place in them. Okay, so you added, for instance, birth in wherever, in Glasgow, Scotland, and it shows you where they are. So for instance, Gal has two a great-grandfather and great-grandmother who were born in which fits under the Ashkenazi area. So this is already a place where a user can get his ethnicity estimate, and if he has a pedigree, he can just see, hey, look, it fits or doesn't fit. Maybe he'll find that some events are not where he expected them, or sometimes everything is known, but it's just a nice way to look at all of the events you have. And you can go click into each one of them and see all of the events, and it's a very nice thing. And this is the first connection to genealogy that we have. And I'll speak about another connection very soon. I'll actually speak a bit now. I'll move back to the PowerPoint. I hope you can see this. Perfect. So this I've shown you. Another thing that is very good for genealogy is in our DNA matches, and here specifically I don't, because of privacy issues, I don't want to show it in the site itself. I want to show it here crossed out from Gal's matches. But in the for every match you have a review match page, which basically digs in more into the DNA match and shows you shared matches, shared segments, and one of the things that shows you is shared ethnicity estimates. And this is great for genealogy, because when you have a list of 4,000 matches, and this list is growing and growing, MyHeritage, I think about 3 months ago, went over the 1 million kits mark. So it's a humongous database, and it's growing all the time. So you have a lot of matches, and it's very hard to sort which ones. So obviously, if you have siblings or cousins, they're going to be in the top of your list, and they're going to be very easy to find. But how do you find a true third cousin or a true third once removed? It's very hard. So a good place to look is if your ethnicity estimate is similar. It can be very interesting. If somehow you can understand that, hey, this is a good place to start looking. Look, we both have ethnicities in Finland. Maybe we should, start researching that area. Now I'll take you back to the site, because there is something else that I want to show you regarding all of this, the big data we aggregated from all of the users. It's a very nice feature. You can reach it from DNA. It's called Ethnicities Map. Let's let it, okay, perfect. And basically what this thing is we took all of the users, again, only users who consented and bought the kits. And what we did is we summed up by country or by ethnicity, and I'll show examples of both. We summed up, for instance, the best way is just to show an example. By country, for instance, if I click on Norway, it shows me the ethnicities that our Norwegian users have. So users who live today in Norway that are MyHeritage users, 87.5 of them have Scandinavian, 13 have Finnish, which is very reasonable considering they're one aside the other. 12 have North and West European. Also, like I said, all of Northwest Europe are very similar, and this is including Scandinavia. 8.9% English and some Scottish. Also, there's a nice thing where I can see my ethnicity results just if I want to compare or I forgot what I got, or it's just a very cool thing that you can do. I can go back and I can do the same thing by ethnicity, meaning I'm interested to know where Baltic people live. Okay, so we have one of the 42 ethnicity populations that we have is Baltic, and I can see here that 93.8 of the people of Baltic live in Lithuania, or sorry, 93.8 of the people who live in Lithuania have Baltic, Latvia, Belarus, Estonia, Russia. So it fits very well with the actual community who lives there. So that's something very, very nice to have. This is a nice feature, which is just us sharing data that we have that's nice to look at, and maybe it can even help research if you're looking for specific ethnicities and you want to know which country they live in. For instance, you have, I don't know, Polynesian ethnicity, and you want to see in the States where Polynesians live, and then you'll try to go to Hawaii, for instance. Let's see. Let's see if I have. Okay, sorry. In the USA, we made it into states, so it's a lot of different. And this is very interesting. You can actually see the difference between the different states. But like I said, for instance, in Hawaii, so we have lots of English people, Northwest Europeans, but we also have 13% Polynesian, which fits obviously the native Polynesian community. So you can use this as sort of a research aid if you know what ethnicity you're looking for, or you're just interested in seeing what ethnicities you have in the country you live, or something like that. And you can go back and forth and do whatever you want. Perfect. So now we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. Now, I just put this here because this is a question that we receive a lot, and I thought I might as well not receive it from you, but just go ahead and answer ahead of time. Lots of people ask, so should siblings or cousins or very close relations get the exact same ethnicity estimate? So the answer is no. They should get similar ethnicity estimates, not exact ethnicity estimates. This is just a brother and a first cousin, but the main explanation that I want to show here, and I think it's one of the most beautiful things in nature, is the randomness of how we inherit DNA. So for instance, let's say Frank has two ethnicities. Okay, he has purple and lighter purple, and Molly has two ethnicities. She has, I think this is yellow and lighter yellow. When they pass it on to their kids, what happens is each kid gets one chromosome from his father and one chromosome from his mother. That's fine. They get 50% from his mother and 50% from the father. But the 50% is different due to recombination. So for instance, Ben, he got a small part of the not light purple and a larger part of the light purple, while Lisa got different parts of the chromosomes. This is something called recombination, which is a beautiful thing in nature. And basically, that's what drives evolution, because for each different kid, he gets a random set of DNA molecules from his father, and this helps variation. Variation is good. If everyone was exactly the same and something was wrong, then everyone would not survive. Let's say if it's a disease or something. So it's very good that there is variation. And the same thing with Molly. Ben got darker and then lighter and then dark, and Lisa got light and then dark. So it's true. People say, hey, but me and my sister, we got 50% from dad and 50% from mom, and that's absolutely true. But the 50% you got is a bit different. And so let's say the dark purple is a specific ethnicity. Let's say Frank's father is from dark purple and his mother is from light purple. I don't know, Irish and Japanese. It doesn't matter. So Ben would get a little different ethnicity estimate from his sister. And this is fine. It's okay. It's even nice because that's how nature works. Now, when you go to even a different generation, let's say Steve, Ben married someone with a blue ethnicity, and Steve got a random chromosome from Ben, and Julia got a random chromosome from Lisa, and you can see how the variation is between, and these are first cousins, how much variation there is. So sometimes people will say, "Hey, he's my first cousin, and I'm from here, and why do we have a 10% difference or 20% difference?" And then I say, or our customer support say, "You know what? Look at the great grandparents, and maybe one of them is from somewhere else, and you didn't get his DNA, or you get a very small portion of it, and your first cousin got a bigger portion or a bigger chunk of it." So, for instance, Steve here got a larger chunk of light orange or yellow. I can't see here, and Julia got a smaller chunk. So Steve would get, I don't know, 35% Japanese, and Julia would only get 20, and that's fine because they got different sets of molecules from their parents. And I think that's also, it's something that we see in the day-to-day. Sometimes you look at siblings, and it's not only a scientific thing. You can see it, and some siblings are very similar physically, and they look the same height, same color, same everything. And some siblings look very different. I personally, in my family, have two cousins who are brothers, full brother, and they look completely differently. One is tall and dark hair, and one is short, and that's because the recombination that they get was different. And that's something that I wanted to say up front, because siblings sometimes say, "Hey, we should get the same thing," but no, it's okay if your grandparents are from different places. Sometimes siblings can get different ethnicity estimates. Another thing I want to put here is we're hearing a lot of noise, which is good noise, about small percentages. And this is something that I want to make clear. Just like we did in the DNA matches, and you all, I hope all of you, maybe you heard last week's webinar, or maybe you just read our blog post or saw the site, but we did a humongous revamp in the DNA matching pipeline, where we had we were good in the close relationships, where we had problems with the more distant. And now, after we fixed that, the pipeline is perfect, and the DNA matches is something we're very, very proud of, and all of the bloggers and genetic genealogist experts are very happy to use the matches in MyHeritage. But what we did is also we told people that some more distant matches are lower confidence, and that's fine. If I take you back to DNA matches, a third cousin match, if it can be 0 DNA, or it can be 80 centimorgans DNA. So that if we get a match that's 20 centimorgans, it's a bit low confidence. It's hard to tell what it really is. And it's the same with ethnicity estimate. Anything under 4% is lower confidence. It's hard to tell because of the biology, not because of the algorithms are bad or good. It's very hard to tell if it's true or not. Are there dozens of cases where it is true? Completely. Not a while ago, we had an Australian user who had about 3% Papua New Guinean. And he said, "Hey, I'm Australian 100%. How did Papua New Guinea get in there?" And we researched out of interest his tree. We saw that his great grandparent in his tree, it says married a Aboriginal woman. Okay, in one of the side notes. And boom, Aboriginal Australian is very similar to Papua New Guinean in DNA. And so you see that's an example of where low percentages can be true. And it's the way for many, I have many examples like that. And there are examples where it's very hard to prove and they might be wrong because their confidence is a bit less low. And this is something that we're always optimizing, we're always improving, we're very transparent. Every time we're working very hard to make sure that we give the results. But the thing about DNA in matches and in ethnicity is that when you get to the low percentages, the low centimorgans, it's very hard to tell. And I think it's pretty. I think it's nice. And I think that people enjoy small percentages of countries that, maybe there is no paper trail and they can try to think that there really is one and they can research it and sometimes they find. But it is something that we all need to know that that's the case. And I know it's going to rise in the questions also, what about, hey, I'm Scandinavian and I got 2% Middle Eastern, or I got 3% Greek and I'm fully English. It can happen. And, and either it's your DNA looks a bit like a Greek person's DNA. I remind you, we're building models we're taking thousands of users and building models for billions of people in the world. And in statistics, some people just don't look the same. So some English person looks more Scandinavian. It can happen. And also I can say that, maybe you are 3% middle. That can happen. Maybe you don't know about this. Maybe many people don't know really their family history. And yes, and also sometimes there's mistakes. Sometimes the ethnicity estimate is not exactly what you expected because the DNA looks like this model more than it does the other. And that's also something that can happen. But it is important to understand that the lower percentages are indeed lower confidence. And you have to, they're an incentive to research. Just as a fourth to distant cousin that we show in the matches, you don't know if you will ever understand what the paper trail is, but it's very interesting to research that lead. You look for surnames, you look for places that you share. And same here, if you see something small, it could be a false positive, and it also could be a lead to something that really happened in your heritage. Okay, and I think actually we've reached the last slide, because like I said, I want to leave some time for questions and answers. I think that's maybe even the most important part of this webinar. What's coming up soon, or what are we working on? So the first bullet is pretty it's pretty explanatory. We at MyHeritage, we always want to improve. We want to give you the best products. I think we've shown over the years, both in the genealogy aspect and in the DNA, that we're relentless, we work hard, and we always try to optimize and make things better. It's never perfect, and it's something we're going to always do. So we're going to improve the confidence, we're going to improve the noise that sometimes people get. We're going to add more populations, again, leveraging our vast international user base. And you know what? And we're going to listen to the community, like we did in matches. If few people have, if the users have requests, if things are, things we can make easier, that's what we do. And like people had many comments about the DNA matches, they wanted to add notes, they wanted to filter according to specific things, and we gave it to them because that's why we're building this site. That's why we're building this feature, so you guys can enjoy it. So like I said, we're going to improve the pipeline and add more populations. And there also are some very interesting things that we're researching, and hopefully we will be able to share in the coming weeks and months, because we really built here a very, very good science team that's working really hard to try and innovate in this area and not just keep it the same thing all the time. And I think that's it. I hope I answered some of the questions you had before. I hope I challenged you to think about what you can do with your ethnicity estimates. And I would love to hear any feedback you have, both generally and on specifically the ethnicity estimate. And I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Yoav. That was wonderful. Jerome says here, I love these webinars because they show what is coming up, a glimpse of the future. And I think that's true. Every time we see a MyHeritage webinar, you guys are so transparent. You tell us what's coming up in the future. All right, we have loads of questions. And before we do that, let me just do the announcements. And then we'll have Yoav do all the Q&A. So let me give him a break for a moment or two, and we'll go through the announcements and the door prizes. So for our upcoming webinars in the live MyHeritage series, we've got Genealogy for Advanced Users, Grow Your Family Tree Online, which will be the next one on April 10th. And then the second one in April will have Get the Most from the MyHeritage search engine for historical records. So we're not just going to do DNA all the time. You're going to get to see the record side of MyHeritage as well. There's a lot of historical records that you can dive into, and you'll be able to learn about that on April 24th. Then on May 2nd, we'll have a special appearance by the founder and CEO of MyHeritage. Gilad Jaffet will be speaking, and I had the pleasure of hearing him speak at Roots Tech out in Utah a couple weeks ago, and that was a really nice experience. And also, not only is he going to speak to you live, but there is a presentation both on the Legacy Family Tree webinars website and on YouTube of the presentation that Gilad did out at Roots Tech. And let's see, and then our last one that we have on our upcoming calendar here is on May 8th, and that's Discover Your Family History in School Yearbooks. And that, I heard about that when I was out at Roots Tech, and they did some really, really cool content extraction. And so you're definitely going to want to hear about why that is so unique. Because I know you can get yearbooks at other places online, but the way they approached it so that which allows us to search is really unique and it's really powerful. So definitely check that one out. All right, we have door prizes to give away, and MyHeritage webinars are always great because look, we have a DNA test kit to give away. So if you would like to win a DNA test kit from MyHeritage, go to your GoToWebinar user panel, control panel, and there is a little hand on the left-hand side. So it's the very left-hand bar of your control panel, and you should see a little hand that you can raise there. And if you would like to get the DNA kit, go ahead and raise your hand. And I'll just give it a minute, and hopefully everyone knows how to do that. How to use the raise your hand feature on the control panel. All right, well, the winner for this one is Bertie Kelvey. So congratulations, Bertie. You have won yourself. I'm just writing your name down. You've won yourself a DNA test kit from MyHeritage. And let's see what happens when I click the slide. It looks exactly the same. Let's make sure. Nope. Yep. Okay, there we go. 2 test kits we are giving away today from MyHeritage. So I'm going to put everybody's hand down. And not that it's really changed, but if anybody else wants to get a test kit, let me know here, and I will. I'm just going to have to scroll down a little bit further this time. All right. And I'm hoping everybody knows how to do this. All right, the winner for this is Sandra Nayak. So congratulations, Sandra. You've got yourself a DNA test kit. Let me just write your name down. Okay, great. So now let's get back to the Q&A with Yoav. And I'm going to go all the way back up to the top because we have so many questions. Let's see. Got them. All right, here we go. So this is a fairly typical question. This one comes from Michelle, and she wants to know, why are there differences between ethnicity estimates depending on the company that you use?
Great question. Very common. So like I showed you, in order to model ethnicity estimate, we need to take founder populations, DNA of people who consented, and then around them we build the model. So we take, X people from Japan, X people from France, and each company usually takes different people. Now, these different people are very similar, but they still are a bit different. So each company has built its own reference panel of different people in the world, and we all have our X amount of Irish people and Japanese people, but they're different Japanese people and different Irish people. And there's no true or wrong, because like I said, we're trying to build a model where we take 1,000 Japanese people and then we model the whole, I don't know how many people live in Japan, but 90 million. So if I take a different 1,000 and someone else takes a different 1,000, the model is slightly different. In addition, sometimes the algorithms, which which do the confidence levels and do smoothing, which is taking noise and turning it in, are a bit different. But mostly, it's the reference population. So it's a big chunk of that. That's the reason.
All right, Dale has a conveniently appropriate follow-up question. He says, "Are additions to the reference groups ongoing as well?" So do you send out more tests to a reference population?
So again, good question. Um, the good thing for us is that we don't even need to send, because our user base is so international. We actually get users who just buy a kit for themselves or their family, um, and then we can see that they're founder population users from all over the world. And obviously, with their consent, we can use that data to help build our models. So yes, we don't send the kits, or I mean, we may, to areas where we don't have users. We may do that in the future, but currently, because we're selling kits all over the world, because our users prefer to come to MyHeritage because the site and the mobile and everything's translated to their to their mother tongue, so they buy DNA kits in our site. So we kind of get founder users just like that, without working too hard, which is always nice.
So do you get, I don't know, flagged or notified or something like that if somebody sends in a DNA kit and they include a family tree online, and they come from a country and they have like 3 or 4 generations just from that same area? Is there a way, how do you know that they're a founder person?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like like a flag, like I get a notification, but we have so many algorithms and so many people working on these areas of the products, and we have databases and analytical teams that do analysis on the data. So we see these things all the time.
All right,
Yeah,
so
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 it's
I'm
it's
probably
it's an active thing that we work on because we want to improve all the time, which means we always are looking for ways to improve.
yeah. See, I'm such a genealogist. I'm thinking of it from the family tree side, and you're probably getting it from the science side. So yeah, I'm
Yeah.
okay. I think I'm catching on now. All right. Jerome wants to know, is it possible to obtain the genetic Adam and Eve if one goes back far enough?
Whew, so that's not even for my payroll. We need a philosopher to. It's very hard to go that far up. I mean, it's very hard because over 3, 4 generations you can share zero DNA because of recombination. It's very hard with DNA to go more than that. I mean, we do find kind of ancient segments in ancient areas that don't change so much that many users have, um, which is, sometimes user will get a segment in a match that it's not necessarily IBD or identical by descent, but it's rather an ancient history thing. But it's going to be very hard. I don't think today, uh, or at least we don't have the tools to do that. But again, this is not the domain that I deal with, and there are some great scientists working looking at ancient, bones and extracting the DNA and building models. So everything is possible today. I think scientifically, there's amazing achievements, but it's hard to say. It's really hard to say because it's just been so much time. So nobody knows. Nobody was there. There was no one to ask. So it's very hard to say.
All right. So Michelle is asking about founding groups again, but she wants to know about subgroups. And I don't know if you're doing subgroups within a specific country. So, for instance, Michelle throws out the example of France, and we've got 2 different groups from France. We've got, like, over here in the United States, we've got French Canadians, and we also have Acadians. And would they have different founding groups? And would you even consider that as a breakdown?
Yes, we're definitely, like I said in the last slide, we're going to add more. We're working very hard to make them very good, and we're considering every group, as much subgroup as it is, it doesn't matter, as long as it really has, DNA that can be clustered, can be used to model. Yes, so definitely. Um, if the DNA shows there's variation, we're going to try to catch that variation and give it back to the users. So yes, but the thing is, we need a lot of data for that, and that's something that we're working, it takes time.
Okay, so
But definitely yes.
You need more Acadians to test, and then that'll make it easier.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see here. Annette says, in the future, will you try to break out Sephardic Jews into a separate group? I noticed that you did have them. You did have a breakout group for Sephardic Jews in one of your slides in Gull's ethnicity.
Mhm.
So where are we with that? Are they
So
completely
good
separate now?
question. So it's a good question. Oh yeah, we do have an ethnicity called Sephardic Jew. Um, we have currently the biggest Jewish ethnicity estimate. So we have Ethiopian, Yemenite, Mizrahi Jews, which come from Iraq, Iran, and West Asia, Ashkenazi Jews, and North African Jews. Um, and we even think we can drill down more. We really want to, because even for Ashkenazis, there's from Lithuania and from Germany. So there's lots of subgroups in the group. And like I said before, it's a matter of data and time, and some groups can't be divided because they're too similar, and we don't want to give you a random ethnicity estimate. So, but yes, we're definitely going to work harder. And in the case of the Jews, we have the biggest Jewish data set and most diverse, because we're in Israel, and we have Jews from all over the world. So it's a good starting point to build a very interesting reference.
All right. Beverly wants to know, is it possible to search MyHeritage matches by ethnicity? So say someone has DNA matches, can you sort them out by the ethnic group they belong to? If you
So
just
I think I'm actually I don't remember, but I don't think you can actually sort. I'm writing it down for me as a note. I think you can, like I showed earlier, you can look in the DNA match, and look at the shared ethnicities. I think you might be able to sort or to filter out if you have shared places, which is, it's not the same, but it's close. So you can filter out matches that have same places. But no, we can't. I don't think we can now sort according to the ethnicity. But it's a good point, and I wrote it down. So that's exactly what I said. I would love to hear anything that is interesting to users, because if it's interesting for users, it's interesting to us.
well, I know you can sort by country. I had a lot of fun doing that. So if you go in, let me just pull my screen over. Oh, I'm not going to do it here right now because I'd have to go into my DNA matches and it'll get too complicated. But if you're in the DNA matches side, in one of the options there, you can actually search by country. So it's not the same question. It's not ethnicity, but you could try that at least. Um,
Yeah, definitely. It's a good point, though.
all right, let's see here. Oh, Brian wants to know, when you were sharing Gull's ethnicity results, one of the regions had shadings. It had like three rings. So in the center was the darkest, and then a little bit lighter, and a little bit lighter. And he's asking, is that representing the confidence level of where the ancestor or the ethnicity may have originated, or is that related to the density of the sample group?
So it's mostly the confidence of where we think these individuals or this reference lived. So it's not only DNA; it's also we read about these things, and there's a lot of things that are incorporated into this, anthropological, historical, geographical. So it's where the vast majority of these people lived, and each ring, there's a smaller chance that they were there, but there still is a chance, because, like I said, people drifted around, people moved around. So we'd say the majority, and it's hard to put a number on this, and I don't want to specifically put a number on this, but the majority are in the inner ring, and as the rings get bigger, there's a smaller chance that they were there, but there still is one, because people, again, they married, they went 100 kilometers to find a wife or a husband, or to find a job, or to just trade, or to run away from persecution or something. So people moved, but the vast majority are the inner ring.
Okay. And Jacqueline wants to know, is it recommended that we test with MyHeritage even if we have uploaded results from other companies?
So For the ethnicity estimate, it's actually not like and this is against my will for people to buy kits, but actually the uploaded results are going to be pretty similar, not exactly the same because um, you know every lab has its own error rate, and so that can change a bit the ethnicity estimate, but it's going to be pretty the same. So the main reason for is if you don't have a kit at all, so you can buy one. But if you have one, then it's the uploaded ethnicity estimate will be pretty much the same.
Yeah, I was watching a different MyHeritage webinar. There've been a bunch of them, and somebody was saying how like you could do it for yourself, maybe if you were interested to bring over the different kits, but I don't think it makes any sense like to do it for every single kit that you manage, you know. Um,
Yeah, if you have four, you have from all of the different three providers, and I mean, it's going to be pretty much similar. So,
yeah.
um, I don't want people buying kits if they don't want to. It's not a thing that we want. We want people to want to buy the kits and to get a good product for it.
Jacqueline also wants to know how could you use the ethnicity results to help with adoption research?
Um, so that's a good question. Never heard that one before. But I think that if a adoptee doesn't people don't always know, just by the way that they look, where they're from. And sometimes if you don't get the match, all the adoptees are searching for that, uncle match, first cousin match, half sibling match, because those are the easiest ways to find the biological family. But even if you don't get that and you get, something interesting in your ethnicity estimate, it could narrow down your research. And it's a good point. I never thought about that, but it can narrow down your research. And hey, I got 25%, South Asian. I didn't think I was South Asian. I thought it was, I don't know, I thought it was only Hispanic, or I thought it was something else. And that can be helpful. It's not as direct as a close DNA match, which is obviously more helpful, but it can help you, kind of look in different groups of people now, and that can be helpful. I wonder, that's an answer, that's a question to the groups of adoptees, if anyone has used this before, but I think there is something helpful about it.
I'm going to try and bring up a match. My It's a little tricky, but let me see if I can do this for my dad, and I think it will help. All right, let me just click into this. I just have to get to the right space before I can show it on the screen because I don't want to reveal any other people's information. All right, here we go. So I'm going to show this on the screen to show what he's talking about, like with adoption. So this is my ancestry, and this is my father. So if you were an adoptee, you wouldn't maybe necessarily have this information, but you could correlate when you're looking at potential people. So it shows you the percentage you have and then the percentage that the other person has. And what I love this also, if you click on this shared ethnicities only, you click on that and it takes away the ones you don't share and it just leaves you with the ones you do share. So that's a neat little trick that you can do. And whoops, hang on one sec. I gotta pull up my questions here again because I'm moving things around. Oh, so, and this is sort of, if you could talk about this, Dale's next question is, how did you get the shared ethnicity page? So if Yoav, if you can tell people how I got here, I didn't want to show people because, I can't reveal, my
Oh,
other
okay,
DNA.
sure. Yeah, very. So as you can see on her screen, you see the DNA, tab between the discoveries and the research. You just go to the DNA matches page. Once you're in the DNA matches, you're going to have the list of all of your matches. And for every match, you're going to have an orange little button on the right-hand side that says Review Match. And the DNA matches page basically shows you a high level of the matches, centimorgan length, total shared DNA, if your trees have matching surnames and stuff like that. But if you click on the review match page, then you have a lot more interesting data. And one of those things that you can see is the shared ethnicities. So again, it's just clicking on the DNA matches page and then just clicking on any one of the matches that you want to drill down to. And it's a fascinating page. I really encourage people to go to that page, the DNA match page.
So this is really interesting when I look at this, because this Iberian, it says that's on my dad's side, and actually my Alsatian ancestry is on my mom's side. So here's my Balkan that doesn't appear on my dad's, and that's all my Czech ancestors that are on my mom's side. So that's kind of cool. All right, let's get to the questions, hopefully. Anyway, so you've got those two tabs there that you guys can work with.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Let's see here. Doris wants to know how many generations are covered in the estimate.
So again, it's like what I answered you. It's a very hard, I can throw 7 to 15, but or 6 to 15. It depends on the population, but hundreds and hundreds of years.
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds of years. Because remember, if today I move to China and I with my wife and we have kids, it's not like they're going to get Chinese ethnicity very quick.
Right.
It takes hundreds and hundreds of years.
All right. Let's see. A couple of people had questions about 1% Nigerian turning up in their ethnicity results at MyHeritage. Elizabeth wants to know, is this just noise? Should we disregard it?
Yeah. So like I said, it's a good point. Thanks for raising it. Under 4% is lower confidence, and this is included. So if a 1%, a 1.1, a 1.2, 2%, it's lower confidence, and it can be noise. It can be true in some cases, and we've seen some cases where it's true. And yes, everything that's lower confidence, you should look at it with a grain of salt, because it's very hard for either us or you to prove that it's wrong or right, because it's so little. Same as again, I like to take the matches example. Same as the fourth cousin once removed. I mean, you can find you one, and you can say, hey, you do have shared DNA, but it's very hard for us to know if it's real, and you can reach it genealogically, or if it's just statistically you share a small segment. It's the same with the small the small percentages. So it can be noise, true, and it can be real. If it doesn't fit at all to what you think, then there's a stronger, chance that it's noise in the small percentages. But like I said, we also find cases where it just is true.
Yeah, you can see on the screen right now, my dad has that 1.1% Nigerian as well. So potentially speaking, as MyHeritage continues to make updates in the future, these percentages could change a little bit. Some things could disappear. Some things could get a little bit bigger.
Completely. When we started Ethnicity, we had one version. After a few months, we changed to a better version, and we were always improving. That's one thing that will never stop until it's perfect. And with DNA, it can never be perfect because that's how biology works. So we're never going to stop.
Right.
So we're always going to improve. We'll obviously notify users if something changes. But yes, we're going to try to make it as accurate as possible, as much as we can, as much as the biology lets us.
All right. Wolf has a question. He wants to know, why is Mexican not an ethnicity?
So, good question. Mexican is not an ethnicity because Mexico is actually a country with tens of ethnicities. It has many, many different kinds of indigenous people who live there, for thousands of years. It has lots of Iberians who came there, all of the, the Spaniards, the Cortez, and, I don't remember the exact names of all of the people who came. So it's actually a very mixed country. A very interesting country. It has obviously a lot of, and that's why we call it Central American, because also people in Mexico are many times the indigenous people similar to people in Colombia and Panama. They're very similar. So we couldn't just say, you're Mexican without calling it something more broad, like Central American. Yeah, Central American. So there is no, there's lots of different people in Mexico, basically. Now, we are going to, try to improve everything. And one of those things is to look into that country, like all other countries, and see if we can divide it somehow into, subgroups. Because some indigenous people look like others. And there's lots of kinds of people. Mexico is a humongous country, and it's very big also, and very large population. So you have lots of different people there. So it's not like Finland, where you know what? Maybe Finland's a bad example because it does have maybe two subgroups, but lots of countries have one sub. It's not even a subgroup; it's just a group. But Mexico is many. So for now, the amount of data that we have allows us to call it Central American. Maybe in the future we'll be able to, to chop it up into more ethnicities.
All right. A sort of common question following along with what we were just discussing in terms of improvements and things like that. A number of people are asking if they get tested, those improvements will just happen automatically to their results, right?
Yes, we will. If we make an improvement, we will improve it to, or at least give the option for any user who wants to. Of course, we're never going to ask a user to buy another kit, or this goes for ethnicity, matches, whatever, every DNA feature. So yeah, we already have the DNA, and the improvements are going to be an option for existing users as well, completely.
All right. Nancy wants to know, can you discuss privacy concerns? Who can see results outside of yourself, looking at your own results?
Great question. It's very easy to answer. No one. If you buy yourself a kit, only you can see the results. If you share it, that, like I showed you, you can share the the intro or the ethnicity estimate screen on some other, social media or via email, then whoever you shared it with can see it. But only you can share it. If you manage a kit, let's say you uploaded a kit from your grandparent, he did a kit, but he doesn't, he's not, very tech savvy. He doesn't have a site. So you manage his kit, then you can see his also. But that it requires opt-in consent and from him. But the answer is very, very simple. No one can see your ethnicity results. You can switch on or off the option in DNA matches. Like I said, you can see the shared ethnicities, so you can choose if to show that or not. So if you choose to show that, then people can see in their matches, they can see only people who are matched to you, obviously, can see the shared ethnicity. But if you don't want to, then no one can see it. So we're very strict about privacy and security, and we don't want anyone, thinking that the data is reaching people that he doesn't want it to reach.
So, for instance, right here on the screen where you see my results and my father's results, we can see that because in the settings, I allowed it to be shared, right?
Yes.
So that
completely.
can be turned off. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. If you don't want anyone to see anything, that's, it's your choice. You can even turn off matches. We don't want to share anything that the user doesn't want.
And there's so many new questions that came in. I'm just scanning here a little bit. Okay, so Charles is asking, in my ethnicity estimates as an African American, it is showing so much overlapping of the various African ethnicities. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Good question. I'm assuming you're talking about mostly West African, and it's very hard for the model to know exactly which of the countries. It's in some cases it's similar. I don't have a good answer for that, the overlap, but it's something that you have to research and see what fits you, what's more right. It's very hard for me to say now. I can't see your ethnicity estimate, so it's hard for me to answer this. But I think between the Western African countries, in many cases, it's hard, and that's a place where we want to improve also. But it's just hard biologically to distinguish between the different countries. Um, so that's the best I can do. It's something that we can look into, but also, if you can later send us an email if you know specifically you're from somewhere and we're giving you something else, we can look into that. But it's just communities that many times they mingled and they look sometimes the same. So it's hard to know why there's that overlap.
I have a number of people asking about Native American DNA. I wonder if you can distinguish between how the DNA testing looks at all of the Americas in regards to DNA. Like an American would think of Native American and they're thinking of the United States, but that's not necessarily true because we have Native American populations from South America, from Central America. So from your scientific approach, how does the DNA test
Yeah.
handle Native American
So
DNA?
good question. In many places, people just call all indigenous people from northern Canada till the end of Patagonia in Chile, indigenous American or Native American. And the reason is that they all came through, the Ice Age. They came through Asia, and it's the same people. Because it happened so much time ago, there are different tribes that settled in different places, and in some cases, we can infer them. Like indigenous Amazonian, for instance, is the ethnicity we have, and it's because they were in the jungle and they didn't see anyone for ages. They started to get their own variations, their own ethnicities. But overall, it's hard. It's a hard ethnicity to distinguish the Native American, and it's more hard even to say, even in North, uh, uh, even the United States, there's so many different tribes, and the tribes in the North, and the South, or the East Coast and the West Coast, they're not the same. So it's easy to distinguish them between Europeans and Africans and Asians. That's the easy part. But between the different tribes, it's very hard, and also there's a shortage of data. There's not a lot of people, unfortunately. So it's not like we have thousands of Native Americans kids, or anyone has it, because it's we don't have a lot of users from there, and there's not a lot of people at all that are pure founder population from that area. Um, so it's very hard. There's a shortage of data, and they're just very similar. Again, it's a place where I'm sure with more research we can distinguish better. It's something that us and all the other vendors we're probably going to try to do that.
All right, just a comment here from Brian. He says, this has been a fantastic webinar with lots of great information. So I'm sure that many of the people today have felt that they've definitely contributed to learning more and understanding better how to interpret their DNA results. And I think it's good that we had quite a bit of time for questions, because questions are always such a huge part of trying to understand DNA. I mean, I'm kind of a DNA junkie. I spend a lot of time doing DNA. And yet, look, I had questions. People are probably tired of hearing me ask questions. I'm always asking questions on Facebook. But I appreciate your willingness to look at my DNA results and to answer all the questions that have been bombarding you today, and your willingness to answer them regardless. So I appreciate that. I think we're getting at the end of our time here. Is there any parting words that you want to leave us with?
Um, I had a great time. I think these webinars are a very good thing. I think it's good for both sides, because I'm showing you what we're doing, and you're challenging me with questions and you want answers, and that's great, because it makes me know what we need to do, how we need to improve, what's good, what's working good, and we need to continue to do that. And I think it's a very good stage for that back and forth. I think thank you very much for hosting and the introduction, and your questions are always welcome. And overall, I hope the people enjoyed it, and I hope you understand now, or at a high level, how we do ethnicity. at MyHeritage, and how strong we are in in continuously improving this and making it the best feature we can. And that's about it. Thank you very much,
If
everyone.
if somebody wanted to contact MyHeritage for a little help in understanding, if they have questions about their ethnicity or questions about their DNA matches, is there an email they can go to, or is there contact right on the website? I'm going to put the website back up. Is there?
Yeah, sure. So you can
Um,
always go to support@myheritage.com
okay.
with questions. Obviously, many people ask questions all the time, so I'm not going to say we're going to answer you the same 5 minutes later. Um, and we'll gladly help if there's any questions, misunderstandings. You just want to just want help with the feature, something you think isn't working well, or you don't understand one of the features. We're very happy to. I think if you go down, scroll
Oh,
down all the way down, you'll see it.
oh, if you scroll down. Okay.
I think. But anyway, it's support at
Uh,
myheritage.com. Maybe you don't. No,
maybe
maybe not
help.
in this page.
There's a help center right here at the bottom.
Yeah, the
So,
help center is great. It has many, many answers, so you don't even need to wait for a support person.
and of course, there's also social media as well.
Mm.
MyHeritage has a
Sure.
presence on Facebook, on Twitter. I know Daniel Horowitz is all over Twitter. He really
Yep.
does Twitter well, so that's kind of my go-to person. If I break something in MyHeritage, I go to Daniel and say, "Help me," and he usually
Yeah, we're,
solves
we're
my
we're
problem.
everywhere. We try to help on every media possible.
Yeah. And then there's this help screen here, and there are groups dedicated to DNA on Facebook, so it doesn't even have to specifically be MyHeritage, like Blaine Bettinger's genetic genealogy tips and
Yeah, that's true.
techniques group
That's true.
is.
But I do encourage people, if they do have specific MyHeritage questions, the help center, we put in a lot of effort for most of the questions that people would have very nice answers there. Also, we release almost every feature we have released a blog post, so you can go to MyHeritage blog, and that has very detailed with screenshots and how everything works. So there's a lot of data out there, um, and we're always glad to answer and help.
And this webinar will be available as a replay for free. So you can come back and watch this, or you can send your family members to this if you're interested in DNA, but your family members aren't sure. You can send them to this webinar or any of the other ones. All the MyHeritage webinars are free at Legacy Family Tree Webinars. So that's an option as well. All right, I think that's going to be it for today. We will see you in April for the next MyHeritage webinar. Thank you very much.